All right, guys. Grandma's in the kitchen, and what are we making today?
Beignets.
Beignets at Christmas time, and we're using Cafe Du Monde beignet mix. So this is really easy, right? So we're just using mix, and you add some water to it, right?
That's all you have to do.
And then we've got to fry it up, right?
Yes.
And so that's the kind of, we'll talk about some tips to make sure you get that done right. So what's the first thing that we need to do?
We're going to add the oil to this pan and get it up to 370.
So we need to be at 370 degrees. So you got a pan there behind you?
Yes, I do.
All right, let's check that out. And so we're using canola oil today, and we've used vegetable oil before. And actually on Cafe Du Monde's website, I think they recommend cottonseed oil, but we've never found that anywhere. So we've just got a pan, and we're gonna put a couple of inches of oil in there, just enough to be able to fry the beignets.
Okay, you need to put between 1 inch and 2 inches of oil. And I'm doing about 1.5 inches.
And so we want to get up to 370 degrees, and we have a thermometer attached to the pan, and it has actually a line for donuts. So these are basically French donuts.
And you do not let the thermometer touch the bottom of the pan.
Let's look.
All right, so we've been waiting for the oil to get up to 370, and it's at about, what, 350 right now?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, Mom, relax. All right, so now again, we're using the Cafe Du Monde, and I ordered this online, and we've made it a few times, Vicki and I have. Pretty easy. I mean, it's just a dry ingredient from the box, and then you add water. The more difficult part is frying it up and making sure that they puff up. So what's the next thing we're gonna do, guys?
Well, we're gonna measure out the dry ingredients. So just a cup of this, and then there's gonna be 3.5 ounces of water. So that just gets mixed up together.
Okay, so the box has a recipe of using 2 cups and 7 ounces of water, and that makes 2 dozen beignets. So we're halving that. That's what we usually do, because we're not gonna eat that many. And they're basically French donuts is what they are. So go ahead and get the dry ingredients, and you're gonna do 1 cup. And again, this is half of what the recipe on the box is.
Alright, that looks good.
All right, so we got 3.5 ounces of cold water. And you mix that up, and it doesn't say anything about kneading the dough. And with the amount of liquid that they put in there, we found that the dough is still pretty sticky. But the box does say use flour liberally when you're rolling out the dough. So they'll put flour on this cutting board and then sprinkle some flour on the dough. We froze this board just because in the past I've had problems with the dough sticking to wax paper. So we found that when we put this in the freezer, the cutting board, we didn't have any problems with it sticking at all.
Okay. Now we're adding this to a floured bowl.
Adding it to a floured board. And again, it does say use flour liberally. So you're just going to knead it just a little bit, Mom?
Yes. Just a little. It's a very soft dough. And then I'm going to pat it out. Just keep adding water so it's not sticky.
When you mean keep adding flour?
I mean flour. until it's 1/8 of an inch. But we're going to use a rolling pin on it, so flour your rolling pin.
So they want it to be 1/8 of an inch, the dough, before you cut up the sections. And the sections are supposed to be 2 1/4 inch squares.
That's good.
That looks
Yeah,
pretty good.
I think that's the right thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you got it looks like a 1/8 of an
1/8
inch
of an
thickness, okay? Okay, Mom. All right, so we did, full disclosure, we did have some mimosas while the oil was heating up, and apparently they're starting to take effect. Okay, so now what are you going to do, Mom? You got it, you have the dough out to about 1/8 of an inch thickness.
Yes. And now I'm turning this over to Arissa, my granddaughter.
Okay, what are we doing now?
So now we're gonna go ahead and cut the dough. So we have these little templates, and the dimensions are 2.5.
2 1/4, that's close.
Close.
So it's a
yeah,
2
I'm
and
gonna use this as a guide.
It's a 2 1/4 inch square is what they want.
That's not really a straight line, but we're gonna go.
Yeah, it's approximate.
And we're using a pizza cutter, basically.
Okay. And I'm gonna move this one.
Then you have some left over on the edges and you can reform those. All right. So Arissa, you're just going to take those edges that are not quite squares and then reform them and cut them. All right.
Turning the picture over.
All right, Grandma, so you're going to put these in the pan.
Yes, and I'm going to do 2 or 3 at a time.
Ideally, if you have a fryer where it keeps it at a constant temperature, that's the best thing. And they have skillets that'll keep it at a constant temperature. So here we don't have that. We just have a pan, we have a thermometer in it. And we're gonna try to keep it as close to 370 as we can. They want you to spoon oil over the top of them. Puffing up pretty big, huh, Mom?
Mm-hmm. Yep. They popped up really nice.
So we only put 2 in this time because we didn't want the temperature to drop too much. Every time you put more beignets in, it's going to drop the temperature. So we're trying to keep it as close to 370 as we can. All right, looking good. You gonna get 12 out of this one?
Yes, I think so.
Those are the last 2.
Oh, yeah.
That's number 12, I think. time to powder these babies up. All right, so we fried them up, and you're gonna do the powdered sugar. And just as much sugar as you can get on there, I guess, right?
Yep.
All right, guys, you got them made?
You look good?
Let's take a look. All right, you gonna try them for us? Beignets
Cheers.
for Christmas time. And it's impossible to eat those without getting it all over you, right?
Right.
The
Don't wear dark clothes.
Mom's got them all over her lips.
They're both low.
Puffed up? Yeah, let's take a look at that. Yeah, so they're French donuts, and they're lighter than regular donuts because they puff up and it's pretty much just air inside. So how do they taste?
Really good.
Right.
Really good?
Light,
All right.
nice,
Good.
and sugary.
And sugary. All right, we got the beignets made. They're really pretty easy and a great Christmas time treat. The main thing that I would say is a challenge is keeping the temperature at 370. If you don't have a fryer or an electric skillet that'll keep it at 370, it can be a little difficult to keep it at the right temperature. You don't want it too hot and you don't want it too low, or they're not going to puff up. And then when you roll out the dough, it's supposed to be at 1/8 of an inch thickness. If you make it too thin, they're probably not going to puff up. So, and too thick might be a problem as well. But it's really pretty easy, and they taste great. And they're different in the fact that they're hollow in the middle, so they're not as heavy as regular donuts. So, thank you for watching. Mom, you said you wanted to add something?
Oh yes. If you want one that's absolutely perfect, go to New Orleans and go to Cafe de Monde. But if you can't make the trip, then make your own.
Okay. All right. Thanks for watching, and
Merry
Christmas and Happy New Year.